Have you ever stopped to think that some of humanity's oldest rules still shape our world today? I'm not talking about traffic laws or civil codes. I'm talking about something far more fundamental, something that has traversed millennia and cultures. Imagine a set of principles so powerful that, even though they were written on stone thousands of years ago, they continue to spark heated debates, inspire social movements, and influence the morality of billions of people. We are talking about the Ten Commandments, but in the 21st century, with all our technology, science, and social complexity, do these ancient guidelines still hold any relevance? Or are they just relics of a distant past, with no place in our reality? Prepare for a journey that will make you question everything you think about right and wrong, about freedom and responsibility, and about the very fabric of our society. Because what we are about to discover today might be more current than you imagine. To understand the relevance of the Ten Commandments, we first need to go back in time, not for a detailed biblical history lesson, but to grasp the context in which they emerged and the depth of their impact. Imagine a people newly freed from slavery, a mass of individuals without a cohesive social structure, without clear laws, without a unified moral compass. Chaos would be not just probable, but inevitable. It is in this nation-forming scenario that, according to Judeo-Christian tradition, Moses ascends Mount Sinai and receives from a divine entity a code of conduct that would transcend time. This code was not merely religious, dictating man's relationship with God, but also deeply social and ethical, laying the foundations for human coexistence. But here's the first hook, a question that has intrigued theologians, historians, and philosophers for centuries. Were these commandments truly dictated by a divine being, in a supernatural act of revelation, or were they the result of a legislative genius by a visionary leader? Moses, who understood the fundamental needs of his people to build a functional and just society. This is one of the first theories we need to explore, as the perception of their origin often shapes how we view and apply them today. Regardless of the belief in their divine origin or their human conception, the impact of these 10 precepts on Western civilization and much of the world has been and continues to be undeniable. They have served as a cornerstone for legal systems, moral codes, and personal ethics for millennia. Let's now delve into the first block of commandments, those that traditionally deal with the human relationship with the divine, or with what is considered the transcendent. The first commandment, "You shall have no other gods before me," at first glance, might seem like an archaic rule, distant for an increasingly secularized and pluralistic society. However, if we interpret it metaphorically, its relevance explodes. What are the other gods today? They are no longer golden statues or stone idols, but they can be money, power, fame, rampant consumerism, technology, ego, or even extremist political ideologies. The commandment against idolatry can be interpreted as a profound and timeless warning against anything that becomes the absolute center of our lives, pulling us away from deeper values, a genuine spiritual connection, or our own humanity. It invites us to question, what do we truly worship? What dominates us? What defines our purpose? The second commandment, "You shall not make for yourself an image in the form of anything in heaven above, or on the earth beneath, or in the waters below. You shall not bow down to them or worship them," complements the first. It does not prohibit art or representation, but rather the worship of human creations. In a world where image is everything, where appearance and virtual representation often outweigh reality, This commandment forces us to reflect on superficiality and the pursuit of authenticity. Are we worshipping the image we create of ourselves or others on social media? Are we bowing to unattainable beauty standards or fabricated narratives? The essence here is the pursuit of truth and substance, rather than mere form or representation. The third commandment, "You shall not misuse the name of the Lord your God," goes beyond simply avoiding blasphemy. It delves into the idea of respect and reverence. Misusing God's name can mean trivializing the sacred, using faith to justify acts of hatred, manipulation, or violence. How many wars and atrocities have been committed in the name of a deity? How many times has religion been for selfish or political ends? This commandment reminds us of the responsibility we have with what we consider sacred and with the integrity of our faith, whatever it may be. It invites us to reflect on hypocrisy and the authenticity of our spirituality. And the fourth commandment, remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. For many, it's just a religious rule about rest. But in a 24/7 society, where productivity is the supreme god and burnout an epidemic, the Sabbath, or a day of rest and reflection, is more vital than ever. It's not just about stopping work, but about stopping consumption, rushing, worrying. It's an invitation to pause, to contemplate, to reconnect with family, with nature, with the inner self. Isn't this pause more relevant than ever for our mental health and well-being, for creativity and for the sustainability of our very existence in a frantic pace? The ancient wisdom here reveals itself as a prescription for modern well-being. Now, the part that most impacts our social coexistence, the backbone of any civilized society, the commandments that govern human relationships. The fifth commandment, honor your father and your mother, is the bridge between the divine and the human, and the foundation of the family and social structure. This is not just about respecting biological parents, but about the importance of ancestry, the wisdom of elders, gratitude for the generations that preceded us. It's about the family as the first social institution, the natural hierarchy, the transmission of values, culture, and knowledge between generations. In an era of extreme individualism, fragmented families, disrespect for authority and experience, isn't this foundation crucial for social stability and for the formation of balanced individuals? Honor here can be interpreted as recognizing the fundamental role that parents or parental figures play in character formation and the maintenance of social order. And then, the most famous, the pillars of universal ethics. You shall not murder, you shall not commit adultery, you shall not steal, you shall not give false testimony against your neighbor, and you shall not covet. These are the backbone of any legal and moral system that aspires to justice and peace. You shall not murder. This is the most fundamental of all human rights, the right to life. It is the basis of any criminal code, but we can expand this interpretation. Not murdering also means not destroying someone's life with words, with negligence, with indifference. It means protecting life in all its forms, including the environment, which sustains all life. In a world of armed conflicts, urban violence, and debates about the death penalty, this commandment continues to be a cry for peace and respect for human dignity. You shall not commit adultery. Traditionally, it refers to marital fidelity, but its relevance can be extended to fidelity in all relationships. The breach of trust, betrayal, disloyalty not only destroy marriages, but friendships, business partnerships, and even trust in institutions. In a society where superficiality and disposability of relationships are increasingly common, The commandment of fidelity invites us to build deep, lasting bonds based on mutual trust. You shall not steal. The protection of private property is a pillar of any economy and society. But theft today goes beyond stealing a physical object. Think about data theft, intellectual piracy, tax evasion, large-scale corruption that diverts public resources. All of this is theft, and it has a devastating impact on people's lives and social justice. This commandment reminds us of the importance of honesty, integrity, and respect for what belongs to others, whether material or immaterial. You shall not give false testimony against your neighbor. Truth is the basis of justice and trust. Lies, slander, defamation, fake news, post-truth, all of this erodes the social fabric. In an era of massive disinformation, where truth is constantly manipulated and distorted, this commandment is a beacon for the integrity of communication and for responsibility with the information we share. A person's reputation, an institution's credibility, democracy itself depend on the pursuit and respect for truth. You shall not covet. This is the only commandment that deals purely with thought, with internal desire, not coveting your neighbor's house, wife, possessions. It seems simple, but it is profoundly complex. Covetousness is the root of many other sins and crimes: envy, theft, betrayal, even murder. In a culture of rampant consumerism, where we are constantly bombarded with images of having more, covetousness is encouraged. This commandment invites us to gratitude for what we have, to contentment, and to a reflection on what truly brings us happiness, instead of the incessant pursuit of what others possess. It challenges us to control our most primitive desires and cultivate contentment. But here comes the big question, the core of our debate. If these commandments are so universal, so fundamental to social order and human ethics, why do we still see so much violence, corruption, dishonesty, and suffering in the world? One theory is that, although the principles are clear, interpretation and application vary enormously across cultures, religions, and individuals. What is honor in one culture may be different in another. Another perspective is that human nature, with its flaws, selfishness, and desires, will always struggle against these ideals, making full adherence a constant challenge. Furthermore, modern society, with its complexity, globalization, technological advancements, and new forms of interaction, presents challenges that the ancients could not even imagine. How to apply "you shall not steal" in the digital world, where data is the new currency and intellectual property is constantly violated? How does "you shall not covet" fit into a culture of rampant consumerism and incessant advertising that pushes us towards dissatisfaction and the pursuit of the next best thing? And what happens when a society, or even an individual, consciously deviates from these principles? History shows us countless examples of civilizations that fell into ruin, not due to external invasions, but due to internal disintegration. When morality disintegrated, trust was broken, and collective ethics were lost. I am not saying that the 10 Commandments are the only solution to all of humanity's problems, nor that they are the only source of morality. Many other philosophies and religions offer valid ethical paths, but they offer a framework, a universally recognized starting point for building collective and individual ethics. Philosophers, sociologists, and even neuroscientists have studied the basis of these human behaviors and conclude that cooperation, honesty, mutual respect, and the pursuit of truth are, in fact, fundamental for the survival, prosperity, and evolution of any human group. They are, in essence, an instruction manual for life in community. So, what is the true and profound relevance of the Ten Commandments today? They are not just religious rules for a specific group of people. They are a timeless invitation to reflect on what makes us human, on how we build just, peaceful, and prosperous communities, and on what truly matters in our lives. They challenge us to look beyond the immediate, beyond exaggerated individualism, rampant consumerism, and to consider the impact of our actions on the collective, on our own soul, and on the future of humanity. Whether you are religious or not, a believer or an atheist, it is undeniable that these principles continue to resonate in our consciousness, prompting us to seek a more ethical, more authentic life and a more just world. The discussion is open. Are they a timeless guide, a moral compass for the complexity of the 21st century, or a relic of the past that we should leave behind? The answer, perhaps, lies in how we choose to live today, and in our ability to adapt ancient wisdom to modern challenges without losing the essence of their message. The debate continues, and your opinion is fundamental.